What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and today we have a lot of Spider-Man news in a bunch of different areas. We're talking the MCU, we're talking the Sony Spider-Verse, and also the animated Spider-Verse, that is the Across the Spider-Man universe that people don't really know at this point in time if it's going to cross over into the live-action Sony Spider-Verse, because it looks like it is in fact going to be crossing over into the MCU. We also have some news about Spider-Woman, and it looks like there is going to be more than one Spider-Woman coming to the Sony Spider-Verse. And in the midst of all of this, we are still wondering how exactly the Sony Spider-Man universe and the Marvel Cinematic Universe are going to connect, because this has been hinted at by a Sony director. Now, of course, Spider-Man No Way Home kind of connected the two different universes. However, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man are not a part of Sony's new Spider-Verse, at least not yet. But of course, we'll further talk about that in this video. Now, Sony does apparently seem to be building up a big universe for Spider-Man and all of the Spider-Man characters leading up to a big event, much like Marvel Studios does with the Avengers films. You have your individual movies about individual characters, and then you build it up to where all of those characters come together for a huge event. And it's looking like this huge event is going to be a huge Spider-Verse collision for Sony, with a bunch of different Spider-Man variants and characters. But an interesting rumor that has come out today makes us wonder just who exactly is going to be involved. We've recently heard from insider Jeff Snyder that he's heard a rumor that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is going to appear in Across the Spider-Verse, the animated movie. Furthermore, Daniel RPK on his Patreon account states that Across the Spider-Verse is going to reference the events that took place in Spider-Man No Way Home, which is very interesting because if this does indeed actually happen, it would make us assume that the animated Spider-Verse that Sony has right now with Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse and then Beyond the Spider-Verse, it would make us assume that these animated movies are actually kind of canon to their live-action movies. And not only that, but also part of the MCU, or at least one movie and one character, could be canon to the Spider-Verse as well. However, according to Daniel RPK, Into the Spider-Verse is actually going to reference Doctor Strange. According to Daniel RPK, the characters in Across the Spider-Verse will reference that something bad happened to the multiverse due to a certain event, and the mess that Doctor Strange and the Nerdy Kid caused. The Nerdy Kid obviously being Tom Holland's Spider-Man, but this is big because this is them referencing a non-Spider-Man character. Yes, of course, he was in the Spider-Man film, so that kind of makes it okay, but Doctor Strange is an MCU character, and they are referencing an MCU character here. So this is huge news. This means that the Sony Spider-Verse can now essentially reference the MCU, and we could potentially start to see some pretty decent crossovers here, which is honestly something that we are kind of really hoping for, at least to a certain extent. Many people would love Tom Hardy's Venom to enter the Marvel Cinematic Universe for real, not just in and out in 2 post-credit scenes, but some people might not like Morbius in the MCU. However, I think most people do want Tom Holland's Spider-Man to be a part of the Sony Spider-Verse, as well as the MCU, of course. But speaking about Venom and the Venom post-credit scenes along with the Spider-Man No Way Home post-credit scene, one thing that the director of the Venom movie said, Andy Serkis, was very, very interesting. And it makes us wonder what exactly the plan is with the Sony Spider-Man verse and the MCU. When it came down to explaining the post-credit scenes for Venom 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home, why Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and Venom went to the MCU and then came back, this is what he had to say about it. In an interview with comicbook.com, he stated, "We wanted to leave the audience knowing that these universes are going to somehow collide, and we wanted to do it in such a way that it still leaves so much open. Tying them together means that there's still potential for, they're literally, the portal is not being crossed fully. It's opening up more questions, I suppose. I mean, that was the intention of it, to tease. It's a tease in the fullest sense of the word." So that's what Andy Serkis had to say about the Venom 2 post-credit scene, seemingly making it very clear that the two universes are going to collide. Now, as far as how they are going to collide, I'm assuming it is just going to be Spider-Man characters. Once the Fantastic Four debut, I'm not expecting Reed Richards to pop up in the Sony Spider-Man universe anywhere. But what I think this does mean is that our Spider-Man, Tom Holland, and any other Spider-Man that may come along like Miles Morales and any other characters in those movies can cross over into the Sony Spider-Verse, and then hopefully characters like Venom or Carnage or anybody else could eventually cross over into the MCU. We do know that there is going to be a Venom symbiote in one of the upcoming Spider-Man movies. And who knows, maybe it could actually be Tom Hardy's Venom, or at least a variant of him. However, the universes colliding is more along the lines of the Spider-Man characters from the MCU are going to be going to the Sony Spider-Verse. And we've gotten some rumors that the big crossover event could be Spider-Geddon, essentially where you have 20 to 30 different Spider-Man variants appearing in one universe, all coming together to fight a giant threat. And like I mentioned, apparently one of the Spider-Man characters that we are going to be getting is Spider-Woman, but two different versions of the character. According to a new report, Sydney Sweeney is going to be playing Spider-Woman in Madam Web, but she is going to be playing Julia Carpenter's Spider-Woman. On the Hot Mic podcast, insider Jeff Snyder said that he has been told that Sydney Sweeney is going to be playing Spider-Woman in Madam Web. However, it is going to be Julia Carpenter, not Jessica Drew. And it is important to clarify this because Olivia Wilde still has a project coming up that is going to be a Spider-Woman project that is going to apparently be a part of the Sony Spider-Verse. And that project has been heavily rumored to be about Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman. So those are going to be two completely different versions of Spider-Woman. However, it does like both of them will come together in the Spider-Verse. And the Madam Web movie should be the start of the multiverse for Sony as we know it. In the comics, Madam Web is basically a cosmic entity, and she can travel the multiverse. So hopefully that is something that we see start to happen in this Madam Web film. And of course, we have heard plenty of rumors for a long time now, actually since Spider-Man No Way Home came out, stating that Sony wasn't done with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man yet, and they wanted them to stick around for other projects. Well, perhaps we could see one of them, or maybe even both of them, show up in the Madam Web film. If Spider-Geddon truly is the goal for Sony to have their huge Avengers Endgame style event, but just with Spider-Man and variations of Spider-Man, then it would make sense that Tom Holland's Spider-Man would show up in that film, along with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. And if this report from Daniel RPK ends up being true, and he does have a good track record, that means that Into the Spider-Verse is going to be canon to the live-action Spider-Verse as well, and they are already referencing the event that happened in No Way Home. So this makes Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man canon to the live-action Spider-Verse as well, opening it up for them to return. And fingers crossed that they do, because I know we would love to see those three Spider-Man back together again, along with a lot of other different Spider-Man characters if Spider-Geddon actually happens. But let us know what you think about all of this news about Spider-Man and the different characters of Spider-Man in the comments down below. And please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can stay up to date on all the latest Spider-Man news, both in the Sony Spider-Verse and in the MCU. You can always follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.